Let's go ahead and get started. Thank you everyone for joining today. We're so happy to have you, and we are recording this. So if for some reason you need to jump off early, we will be sending out a link as well to the recording. I'm really happy to introduce our President and CEO, David Williams, who will be presenting today's State of the Organization. So I'm going to go ahead and kick it over to David.
Very good. Thank you, Kristen. Well, good morning and good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us. We have 268 people who have registered to be on this call, so welcome. The purpose of our time together is to provide a brief update on what we accomplished in 2023 and to take a look at what we hope to achieve in 2024. So as Kristen mentioned, we'll be sure to leave some time for questions at the end, so feel free to ask them in the chat box. These will go to Kristen, who's our Vice President of External Affairs. She is the host of today's meeting, and so she'll be looking for your questions. As she mentioned, this will be recorded, so it can be shared with others not attending today. And if you have any questions that we're not able to get to, you can certainly email me at dwilliams@entrywaytalent.org. So, similar to last year's presentation, I'll frame my remarks within the 6 strategic pillars we established in 2021. And over the next 20 minutes, I'll touch on what we did in these areas in 23 and a little bit about what we hope to accomplish in 2024. So, as you can see, the 6 pillars are, number 1, establish strong industry partnerships at the national and local levels. Number 2, expand brand awareness nationally and in local communities. Number 3, build a revenue engine for long-term sustainable growth. Number 4, improve program effectiveness to consistently deliver intended results. Number 5, design an effective national model that supports program expansion. And then finally, number 6, create a self-sustaining local operation in each city where Entryway has a presence. But before we get into the numbers, I'd like to start our talk similar to how we start our board meetings, and that is with a mission moment. And we do this as a reminder of why we do what we do. So late last year, I had the opportunity to celebrate the 1-year anniversary of Marquita Long, who is a leasing agent for AMC in Phoenix, Arizona. Martika is doing an excellent job, so much so that she was recently offered a promotion to become an assistant property manager. But what was even better was the fact that 1 month after Martika's celebration, our Phoenix operation was able to celebrate another 1-year anniversary of Kristen Belsky. So one cool aspect of this story is that Kristen heard about the program from, you guessed it, from Martika. 2 women who were barely hanging on a couple years ago and are now thriving in their jobs and in their lives. And at Martika's celebration, 2 prospective candidates were invited to attend and who are now enrolled in our Edge to Learn learning program. And they were inspired by Martika just as Kristen was. So why am I telling you this? Well, because I believe there's a pay it forward element to our program that we really don't talk much about, but it's there and it's real. So let's jump into the plan. It all starts with our industry partners. In 2023, we added 31 new industry partners to the ranks of those companies that interview, employ, and house our program participants. We now have a total of 72 companies that work with us, which is awesome. While the multifamily sector is a $1 trillion industry, it's also a very small one. And some of the people on this very call were the ones responsible for introducing us to many of these new partners. So to all who did, and you know who you are, thank you. In 2023, we added a national partnership manager to our national staff. Emily Gardner has been in the multifamily industry for 27 years, and last year did an amazing job working with our new and existing industry partners. So if there's a company that you believe would have an interest in learning more about working with Entryway, you can reach out directly to Emily at egarner@entrywaytalent.org. Now, from a brand awareness standpoint, last year was a very big year as we changed our name from Shelters to Shutters to Entryway. Now, we announced this before a packed house in May at the National Apartment Association conference in Atlanta. Now, personally, I was super excited about the name change for many reasons, but primarily because the new name identifies our participants not by where they currently live, but by where they're going. Not by their past, but by their future. Because we are, in fact, an entryway. We're an entryway into a new job, an entryway into a new career, and hopefully an entryway into a new life. And I want to acknowledge again the great work done by the Austin-based marketing agency Catalyst, who did all of their work on a pro bono basis, which was simply incredible. A new website was also constructed, and one of the features I love most is that every market where we operate has its own webpage that highlights our city advisory board, our staff, and any upcoming events taking place in that city. Last year, we appeared in several publications, news stories, podcasts, and produced videos, which can be viewed on our website. In 2023, we raised $2.7 million. And I'd like to recognize our platinum sponsors, Walker & Dunlop, the DRK Foundation, Lloyd Jones, Freeman Webb, and in terms of in-kind donations, Middleburg Communities and Court Furniture. These two companies provided back office support and furniture for our participants. New sponsors last year included Walton Communities, Fulton County, the Department of Employment Services, Truist, Rent, IDIQ, CIM Group, Engler Realty Advisors, and Rangewater. And also, from an in-kind standpoint, ALN and Swift Bunny provided services for us that we would have never been able to afford to pay for ourselves. Now, from a local standpoint, we added many, many supporters. And for all of you who joined us in supporting us in 2023, thank you. But our other goal besides growth in revenue is also to diversify our revenue. And as you can see, we did that in 2023 in two important ways. Number one, by revenue stream, which you can see. And secondly, by geography. Also really great. Now, in terms of program excellence, 2023 saw a major shift in our work as we became much more intentional about workforce development. Starting in Charleston, South Carolina, we developed our own trainings for maintenance and leasing candidates. This concept spread throughout the country so that today, many of our markets incorporate some sort of online, classroom, and on-the-job training programs. This has enabled our candidates to really distinguish themselves from others seeking employment in the multifamily industry. Last year, we developed a competency-based training program for each of the occupational positions we typically place participants in: leasing agent, maintenance tech, groundskeeping, administrative, housekeeping. We also began tracking the success of each of our training resources in order to determine which programs were most successful in the eventual placement of our participants. And finally, we became much more intentional about partnering with outside educational institutions and workforce development programs. In Q4 of 2023, we partnered with Home Team Temps, a multifamily staffing agency, to pilot a new model for Entryway. The model will focus on providing Entryway participants with a temporary staffing assignment while going through a 13-week paid on-the-job training program. The pilot cities are Philadelphia and Washington, D.C. Now, we're also excited that there's a revenue sharing aspect to this partnership that'll enable Entryway to participate in the revenue generated from the program. So we hope this continues to be successful and that we can expand it to other cities in 2024. In 2023, we expanded into Greenville, South Carolina, Denver, and Philadelphia. And in Q1 of 2024, we will be launching into Central Texas, which includes San Antonio and Austin. So if you know people in Austin or San Antonio who you believe would have an interest in becoming involved with our city advisory board or as an industry partner, just let us know. Now, being a data-driven organization, I now have some great data to share with you. All of this work enabled us to place 93 individuals into jobs and apartments within the multifamily industry, including spouses and dependents. This totaled 168 people. Additionally, we also enabled 16 participants to secure jobs outside the multifamily industry due to our training, mentoring, and coaching. We assisted 12 individuals to help them access more stable housing through our networking efforts. And we quadrupled the number of people screened from last year so that 528 individuals were assisted in a direct and tangible manner by completing over 7,000 courses through our training programs in 2023. All of this was a significant increase over 2022. The average starting salary of our hired participants was $19.06 an hour, 145% increase from the $7.65 hour average they reported prior to our program. 11% of all of our hired participants were veterans, and 73% of the people we placed in 2023 are still employed by their original employer as of the end of the year. So in terms of total financial impact, the organization, our services totaled over $8 million in wages, taxes paid, housing received, as well as significant savings to the community. Each candidate participates in a shortened version of something called the Arizona Self-Sufficiency Survey. They participate at the beginning of our process, halfway through our program, and then finally at the end of the program. And our candidates all showed significant improvement in their incomes, their housing, their food security, and life skills as a result of their participation with Entryway. Now, I'd like to take a moment to recognize some of the leaders who are making an important difference in our mission. From a national governance standpoint, last year, Scott Herman, CEO of IDIQ, a national sponsor, joined the national board. And from a local standpoint, we added 50 leaders to our city advisory boards. Speaking of city advisory boards, we saw a number of changes with our CAB chairs last year, many having served in these roles for a number of years. Kirby Davis in Nashville, Randy Baker in Charlotte, Andy Helmer in the National Capital Region, Julie Hayden in Central Florida, and Katie Crosdale in Houston stepped down in 2023. And we're really grateful for the time they spent serving in these important roles. And I'd also like to acknowledge and thank our new CAB chairs who have begun their tenures. So John Witt in the National Capital Region, Jason Lamonte in Charlotte, Lisa Gunderson in Nashville, Scott Davis and Matt Phillips in Houston, Jay Pecunis in Phoenix, Lynette Brockman in Denver, and Kara Bonsheim in Central Florida are all making significant contributions in their communities in these roles. From a staffing standpoint, we added the following individuals to our team: Brianna Luckadoo in Nashville, Mandy Porter Griffin in Phoenix, Takia Calhoun in North Texas, Kit Baker Carr in Denver, Jason Zerby in Philadelphia, and Jessica Corton, who was named our permanent executive director in Central Florida. We were also fortunate to add Andre Green, Quinn Tonu, and Jackie Mullen to our teams as AmeriCorps Vista volunteers, and they will be with us throughout 2024. And finally, a special thanks to Gary Demore, who filled in admirably the role of interim executive director in Phoenix, and to Arnisha Holman, who is doing so now in the National Capital Region. And now I'd like to ask Kristen Poteet, our VP of External Affairs, to recognize the individuals and companies who made some extraordinary contributions in 2023 to further our mission. Kristen.
Thank you, David. Well, it's my pleasure to announce our first annual Entryway Award winners. And our first award goes to our National Ambassador of the Year. This award goes to an individual who embraces and promotes our mission, attends events, refers volunteers and partners, and assists with getting donation and who is really passionate about our work. And our 2023 Ambassador of the Year is Dr. Debbie Phillips. Dr. Debbie not only volunteered her time in February to facilitate our first ever staff retreat, she's recruited more city advisory board members across multiple markets than any other person. She was instrumental in launching our Denver market and has helped recruit a number of national training committee members. She also spearheaded a fundraiser for Entryway honoring Doug Bibby. In short, Dr. Debbie spreads the Entryway gospel wherever she goes, and we are a better organization for it. Thank you, Dr. Debbie. The next award is our National Volunteer of the Year Award, which goes to an individual who volunteers regularly, either with participants at events on a board or to support staff with mission-critical work. They are generous with their time and resources. And the 2023 Volunteer of the Year Award goes to Corey Gibson. Corey is the Chief Financial Officer for Middleburg Communities. He spends time working with attorneys, HR benefit professionals, and technology professionals, ensuring Entryway has strong systems to support our operations. And this past year, Corey was instrumental in handling numerous legal and administrative tasks surrounding our name change, all on a volunteer basis. Corey has also been a major personal donor to Entryway for years, so we thank you, Corey. Our National Industry Partner of the Year goes to a company that has hired 3 or more participants, provides helpful and constructive feedback on interviews and hirings, and is a willing referral to other partners, embodying the spirit of Entryway's mission. And our 2023 National Industry Partner of the Year goes to IRT Living. IRT continues to lead the nation in hiring the most Entryway participants of all of our 72 partners. Last year, 14 participants were hired by IRT in various markets across the country. And Fred Capel, IRT's head of human resources, continues to champion Entryway within their organization as well as across the industry. Thank you, IRT. In 2023, we have 2 National Philanthropic Partners of the Year, and these are companies that made a significant financial contribution or donation of goods or services. They engage their employees in giving and volunteering and promote our mission. Congratulations to Walker & Dunlop and Court Furniture, our 2023 Philanthropy Partners of the Year. In 2023, Walker & Dunlop's employee giving campaign and corporate match raised $138,000 for Entryway. Susan Weber serves on our national board, and several Walker & Dunlop executives now serve on our local boards, including Austin Sneed in Charleston, Brett Kingman in Nashville, and Fletcher Dunn in Charlotte. Court Furniture last year assisted 59 of our hired participants and families by providing furniture for their apartments and a 200-piece home essentials kit. This ensures that our families have a new place to live, not only a new place to live, but a home where they can thrive. And the value of this partnership last year was over $240,000. Thank you, Court. Finally, our National Volunteer Partner of the Year was Catalyst. Catalyst was the creative brainpower behind the rebrand of Shelters to Shutters to Entryway. The rebrand included research, creative assets, construction of a new website, an incredibly large project, all done on a pro bono basis. Their president, Christy McFerrin, also serves on our national board, and they continue now to provide support through social media ads and graphic design as needed. Congratulations and thank you to all of our national award winners. Some of our local markets have also chosen to present awards to those who made a significant contribution to their efforts, and each local winner will receive their award in hand from their local executive director. So you can see the winners listed here. Congratulations and thank you to all of you for your support.
All right, thank you, Kristen. So looking ahead to 2024, let me quickly touch on 5 areas. So during the year, Swift Bunny, again on a pro bono basis, surveyed the multifamily industry about their perception of Entryway. So throughout the year, with this feedback in mind, our pledge is that we're going to get better at what we do. Number two, we are looking at new communities for expansion. So if you know of people or places that might be interested in launching our program in their community, just let us know. Number three, we are always looking for more people to be involved in this work. There are a variety of ways to do that: as a job coach, as a mentor, as a city advisory board member, as a national board member, as an industry partner, and certainly as a donor. By virtue of the fact that you have taken the time to participate in this conversation says you're already an ambassador for this work. So as such, we need to grow this movement to put more deserving people back to work with stable housing in a long-term sustainable manner. So go forth and talk about Entryway. Next, this year we look to double the number of placements, just like we did in 2023 and just like we did in 2022. So our goal is to help as many people get trained, housed, and employed, both within the industry and even outside the industry. Entryway is as powerful as any mission I've ever been involved in. And I've been a part of what I think are some pretty amazing organizations. So let me end by thanking you, each and every one of you, for what you've done to further our mission and for what you're going to do to advance this important work in 2024. And I'd like to bookend our time together with a second mission moment. So in Charleston, we videoed the placement of Lakita, who took a position with Brick Lane Properties. And it's a wonderful story. As 6 months into her role, Lakita was promoted to assistant property manager. And if you want to see Lakita's video, it's on our website. But that video is only part of the story. A few weeks after that video was produced, I was speaking with an industry executive who had just agreed to serve on our Charleston City Advisory Board. And so when I asked Whitney why she was interested in joining our board, she told me her story. When she was 16, she got pregnant and put a pause on her education to join the workforce and to provide for her child. She answered a job posting on Craigslist to be a leasing agent. And the person who interviewed her and hired her had recently been diagnosed with cancer, and it was a terminal diagnosis. Whitney knew nothing about leasing or the multifamily industry, but her supervisor made the decision to pour into Whitney her knowledge of the job and the industry. Whitney is now a vice president who earns a six-figure salary. All because someone saw something in her, invested in her, and gave her an opportunity. So when Lakita came to Whitney's attention, it was a no-brainer for Whitney to lead the charge to give her a shot. And I would submit that that not only was a compassionate decision, it was a smart one as well, as everybody won in the story, including Brick Lane. This is what we're all about, opening the door for talent, as our participants have to put in the work, but often just need an opportunity to be able to open the door and walk through it. So thank you for the part you've played to get us to where we are today. But the really good news is that with your help, the best is yet to come. So thank you for your leadership and support. And now it's time to take a few minutes to answer some questions.
Thanks, David. If you do have any specific questions, feel free to put them in the chat or on the Q&A. I do have a question here, David. How do you choose what new market to go into next?
That's a great question. So our principle, our guiding principle is that we're only going to go where we're invited, and so that is really the first part. We've seen that local apartment associations and industry partners have tended to be the entities that are the most interested in coming to their community, and so that's typically the starting point. We've made the organizational decision that we have to have the formal endorsement by the local apartment association to come to a community. because it's so critical to our future success. So our initial conversations are really by invitation. Um, and then it kind of goes from there. So we have a grid that we go through in terms of the important metrics that need to be in place that include seed capital funding, a certain number of industry partners, a certain number of board members, endorsement by the apartment association. But really that initial conversation is typically initiated by a leader in the multifamily industry in that community.
Great. David, how do you balance growing into new markets with growing the existing markets that you have? What's the key there?
Yeah, it's a great question. And frankly, this is a question that that we've spoken a lot with the national board about of going deeper where we are versus going into new markets. And so that's where I think 2023 was a great year for us because if you look at the programmatic side of the organization, there were a lot of changes that took place. But I would submit that those changes were also took place because what we experienced in trying to expand in 2022. And so I think the expansion actually helped identify, I wouldn't say gaps in our program, but better ways of working and doing things that would increase the chances that we're recruiting the right people, that we're supplying them with the right tools, and that we're helping them succeed in their roles. So it is a balance. I don't think it's an either or. I think we can do both. We have slowed down in terms of expansion. In 2021, we went into 5 markets. 2022, we went into 4. Last year, we went into a smaller number. And so that's how we're looking to do it. But both are important.
Great. Here's another question. Knowing that Entryway has 2 customers, for example, the industry partners side and the program participants that we're serving, how do you balance the needs and expectations of these 2 different customers?
Yeah, that's a great question, and we do struggle with that because clearly, as I mentioned early on, without industry partners, we don't have anything. And yet at the same time, our mission is to help change the trajectory of the people that we're working with. And so where we balance it, I think that, in some cases we find that a participant gets a position and then either, they decide multifamily is not for them. And so they go somewhere else. That's probably the place where our goals probably diverge, where the industry, of course, wants people to stay, and that's something that we talk about, the stickiness of our candidates, and so we want to have longer tenure. That is something that we are striving for. But at the end of the day, if somebody ends up leaving and they're able to go on to something that keeps them out of the space that they were in before, but it just happens to be in another sector, another industry, we still believe that is success. And now we just can't have that happening all the time. We do want to be able to serve our customers within the multifamily industry. But I think that's where our primary goal is to change the trajectory of people's lives. And the primary vehicle by which we're going to do that is within the multifamily industry, which is doing so much to be able to make that happen.
David, one more question here. One of the challenges we've been finding in our market, in our local market, is while we have corporate buy-in from multifamily partners, the local hiring manager isn't necessarily aware of the partnership and the unique nature of our candidates. Do you have any thoughts in 2024 on how we address this through broader Entryway training to this street level or local employees?
Yeah, and that is one more challenge that we've seen over this past year, and that is we have these awesome meetings with the C-suite of companies. We sign an agreement, and yet, and to some extent, we've got to collectively do a better job in being able to communicate with, frankly, the people that are doing the hiring at the local level. And so I think number one, we're open to suggestions. I think number two, we've seen that signing an agreement and getting a C-suite person to championing it, that is a first step, and it's a really important first step, but it's a first step. And that we've really got to focus in on being able to consistently get in front of the people that are doing the hiring. And so we know that's something that we have to do. It's something that we certainly do more of today. One of the great additions this past year was a document that is now produced. And if anybody on this call wants to receive it, it's called a participant readiness report. And that is sent out to, gosh, I'm not sure what our number is up to, but about 150 or so folks, but at a number of different levels. And it's really identifying the people who are ready for employment. And I think so it is typically going at all levels of the organization. And I think we need to be doing things like that and other activities to kind of capture the entire organization.
So we're almost to 12:35. So I do see a couple more questions. We'll keep going. If you need to drop off, we're gonna keep recording. But I do want to get to these other two questions. So David, how do you source and select program participants? And how do you know if they're a right fit for Entryway? Since many may have multiple challenges that they're dealing with.
You bet. So I think the first thing that it's important for people to know is that we work with organizations that have been in the community for years that work with this population. And it's really on two sides. One is with what I would term the social service sector. So organizations like Goodwill, the Salvation Army, Family Promise, organizations that are working with folks that find themselves in the situation they're in. We're working a lot more with educational organizations. And so technical schools, community colleges, for-profit entities, people that are very much in the workforce development space, and they are, graduating classes of people that are getting HVAC certification or carpentry or plumbing or electrical, those types of things. So we're partnering with these entities, and we have agreements with them where we're able to tell them, here are the types of candidates that we're interested in. And so in a sense, there's kind of a first screening through those organizations that they'll contact us very often and say, hey, we've got an individual and I think they would be a good fit for what you're doing. So that's kind of the first screening. The second is that then we have them go through our own process. They apply, we do a background check, they're interviewed nationally we have a national intake team. They're then interviewed locally by the local executive director. We then put them through an Edge to Learn training program, and we essentially assess, are they getting it done, or are we having to ping them? Because that really gets to motivation. How motivated are they to be able to work in this industry? And then after that, then we decide on what their path is going to be. And that could be working with one of our staffing agency partners. It could be putting them in front of a recruiter. It could be getting more significant training, that there's a program coming up either through the local apartment association or another entity that we believe would be a good next step forward for them. But ultimately, when we believe they're ready, then we'll put them in front of the industry. So that's really the process that we go through. If they do get that job, there's a mentor that option is available for them, and we work with them, or we stay in touch with them. And so my premise is a lot of times people see the people we're working with as being more risky. I would submit it is less of a risk because there is a team of people committed to that person's success.
Great. And we did get a comment from that last question that you had on getting communications down to the local hiring managers. A suggestion from one of our industry partners says they love the participant readiness report, but they would love to have a supplemental one-pager about what participation looks like that they can pass down to their hiring managers when they have open roles. So definitely something that we can create and put together, and we'll have Emily send that out. So I think that's a great suggestion.
It is.
Yeah, so just a one more question, and then I think we'll just have this be the last question for now. Would be what types of, you mentioned training, what types of new, if any, training plans are there for 2024, and are there opportunities to be involved in those trainings that happen with the participants?
Yes, so we just formed a partnership with SkillCat, which is online learning, primarily in the maintenance side, or at least for now, that we're really excited about. That it's pretty comprehensive, and so that's one. I think in all of our markets, we're making more of a concerted effort of identifying those programs that are in the workforce development space. And I think that was one of the main pivots of 2023 was, but we're not there yet. There's still a lot of money, there's a lot of training, there are a lot of entities in that workforce development space, and we're still relatively new. So I think that's going to be the biggest change going forward. There are just so many programs that are out there that are doing great work on the training side, and we just need to partner with them because we're a perfect complement for anybody that's training individuals into a new line of work. So I think that's going to be the big priority next year, is to expand. In some cases, we've had some organizations actually, they've been in workforce development, but maybe not specifically in the multifamily industry. And so they're willing to develop a curriculum specifically for multifamily, which is great. So I think that's going to be our big priority next year, as well as developing our own kind of curriculum, kind of adjusting it, because so much can be done online. And then, of course, the last thing is the partnership with the staffing agencies, being able to get on-the-job training. It's, there's nothing better than that. So those are some of the things that I think we're going to do in 2024.
And in terms of a volunteer standpoint, I think if there are individuals that would be interested in participating in training that we're putting on, or in classroom, it's great to have multifamily professionals come and do lunch and learns or breakfast, share your perspective of your career. So if that's something you would be interested in, please feel free to email David or myself.
Very good. Well, again, thank you for participating in this. It will be recorded. Kristen will be sending this out soon, so feel free to share it with anybody that you think might have an interest. And again, thank you for your involvement and your leadership. We can't do it without you, and I'm really excited about this next year.
Thanks, everyone.